Okay, so today is February the 5th, 2025. We're roughly 3 weeks into the new administration, Donald Trump 2.0. And one of the more controversial executive orders that he signed, which has been blocked by a federal judge, temporarily blocked by a federal judge, mind you, is ending natural born citizenship for the children of illegal immigrants. So let's delve into it and let's examine the 14th Amendment. Now I'm going to read the 14th Amendment and what it was designed for, which the 14th Amendment, if we know our constitutional history, was passed by the Senate on June 8th, 1866, and ratified 2 years later on July the 9th, 1868. Okay, so I'm just going to read a few sections of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution granted citizenship to formerly enslaved people and guaranteed equal protection under the law. It was ratified in 1868, 3 years after the end of slavery. How the 14th Amendment protected formerly, and the key word here is formerly enslaved people. Defined all people born or naturalized in the United States as citizens. Prohibited states from depriving anyone of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. So if you're not a citizen of the United States, then that doesn't apply to you. Prohibited states from denying equal protection of the laws to anyone. Again, if you're not a citizen of the United States, that does not apply to you. Authorize the government to reduce representation of Congress for states that restricted voting rights. Now we're talking about all the way back in 1868, not 2025. Okay, other provisions of the 14th Amendment. Banned former Confederate leaders from holding political and military office. Prohibited former Confederate states from repaying war debts. Granted Congress the power to enforce the amendment. Significance of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was a revolutionary step toward defining African Americans, not Latino Americans, not Asian Americans, not Indian Americans. The 14th Amendment was a revolutionary step toward defining African Americans as equal citizens under the law. It established a legal basis for challenging discrimination and demanding equal rights. The 14th Amendment is one of the nation's most important laws relating to citizenship and civil rights. And let's remember, the 14th Amendment led to the 1965 Civil Rights Voting Right Act. So let's bear that in mind. So let's rewind, or let's fast forward to 2025. So this past Monday, we had nationwide protests, if that's what you want to call it. Protests against Donald Trump's executive order to deport millions of illegal migrants and to end natural birthright citizenship. So we've seen these protests across the nation. Los Angeles, Arizona. They even had some down in Atlanta. I don't think we had any down here in Memphis. But the controversy is stemming behind the fact that you have people that came to this country. They broke the law getting here. First of all, that makes you a criminal. See, I can't walk inside a Walmart and steal a product and then hand that product off to my crimey and say, hey man, I no longer have the product. And I'm drawing a parallel between people who come to this country and they are illegal citizens or illegal aliens, and they have children in this country. And due to a misinterpretation, I'm saying it's a misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment, in their mind, their children, their offsprings, in their mind, they think that these people are natural citizens of the United States, as if the 14th Amendment was written for them. That's not what the 14th Amendment was written for. So Monday, we witnessed a series of protests that eventually turned into riots inside of the United States. And like I say, this is a very, very touchy subject, just due to me, due to my historical evolution and the background of my people as former slaves in this country. This topic is very sensitive to us, because we are the ones who were hunted down, captured, reconditioned, and sent over here to the shores of America as chattel property, slaves. First, we arrived as indentured servants, but then as the slavocracy and the slave economy started to pick up, we were reduced to chattel property. So this is a very sensitive topic to African Americans. The issue, one of the focal contradictions that we're facing now, is that you have people that came from all different parts of Mexico, Central America, South America in particular. Even though we have immigrants coming from all over the world. But at the moment, the spotlight is on the millions and millions of illegal immigrants, aliens, non-citizens, however you want to refer to that population that came from that part of the world. So under the Biden administration, millions and millions of people were allowed to cross the border into America. And 99% of those who came into this country are people with no skills. These weren't the doctors, the lawyers, the judges, the engineers, the scientists, the chemists. It wasn't that population that came. And again, there are no absolutes. We know that, some of the people who migrated to the country, there were doctors and lawyers. But the overwhelming amount of the people who immigrated into the country were of low skill or no skill. So the American people have spoken. They want you gone. You are not a citizen of the country. You're not entitled to the provisions and protections of the 14th Amendment, because when it was first ratified, it did not apply to that particular situation. So you want to transport the initial ratification of the 14th Amendment to include illegal immigrants of today. Of course, it's going to be challenged in the Supreme Court. And, I think that, natural citizenship is going to be struck down. And I say that because of the times that we are living in. I've been saying on this podcast, we're living in some very dangerous times right now, right? There's a war between the ruling classes of the world. A war over resources, domination, and power. So that mass invasion that came across that Mexican border, you have become a burden on the resources of the United States of America. America does not have the capacity. It does not have the resources to take care of between 10, 15, and 20 million undocumented citizens. So we saw the protests on Monday. And as, as a black that was born in this country, ancestors were brought to this country. The tactics that we saw Monday that the Hispanics, their tactics. It was a playbook out of the Black Lives Matter movement. When you are trying to convince a government that you are worthy of citizenship, you don't take to the streets and engage in militarism or petty acts of political violence, because that's what it was. It didn't rise anywhere near the level of revolutionary violence. Right? So we talk about revolutionary political violence, we're talking about an organized system, right? So you block freeways, you jump on top of police cars, you burn American flags, you wave flags from your country of origin, which I understand. You proud to be Mexican, you proud to be Venezuelan. I understand this, me personally, right? But again, the climate in America has changed, and it's changed against the invasion. So you are only hurting your political cause when you engage in militant tactics, as we saw on the National Day Without Immigrants. What I can tell you emphatically is that there were a lot of Hispanics that didn't go to work, school that day, and what I can tell you scientifically, the economy kept running. So for any one of you to think that your cheap labor or lack thereof is going to shut down the American economy, you're sadly mistaken. Because I would get out there, I would pick cotton, I would pick grapes, I would do all that, and a lot of other Americans will too. The American economy is not going to collapse. See, you came to this country and you developed a sense of entitlement, as if America has to accept you, as if America has to waste its resources on you. You're not afraid. See, there's been a couple of people on social media, black social media, saying, well, were they afraid? No, they're not afraid. They are entitled. And that sense of entitlement is going to enrage the establishment, and it's only going to speed up the process. See, if you want to develop into a true political movement, then you have to be in the field every day. You can't protest one day and then go back to work the next day. That's not a political movement. But again, it's like if someone moves in your house and, you say, okay, well, look, you've been here long enough. I'm asking you to leave. And if you don't leave, I'm going to put you out. And when I attempt to reason with you to leave on your own, and then I have to resort to a more militant tactic, I'll say, a more direct tactic, and I have to physically remove you from my house, and then you resist, then what is that going to do? I'm not going to say, okay, well, he's resisting. Well, okay, you can stay in my house. No, that's not what's going to happen. The more you resist, then the more belligerent I'm going to become. And all over social media, we've been having this back and forth. And see, and this is what we don't need. We don't need a back and forth between the blacks and Hispanics on the internet. As you see, the Hispanics, they aren't attacking the whites. Black people in this country, we don't control the political infrastructure. So the Hispanic population, you should not direct your attacks against black Americans. You had an opportunity to forge alliances with black America, and for some reason, you chose to do otherwise. And now you're out there on your own. So it was this one guy on the internet that said, oh, you think that the Hispanics are going to come to the blacks? Let me tell you one thing, man. The Hispanics have never put up a protracted political struggle in America. You don't know how. And that's evident of what we saw on Monday. Protests in downtown LA. Okay. You know where they did not march to in Los Angeles? They did not march to City Hall, didn't they? Now you shut the freeway down like Black Lives Matter movement. And we saw how they were defeated. Correct? See, when you're trying to make a political statement, you march to City Hall. You march to the state capitol. And then you eventually march to Washington, D.C. Remember the Million Man March back in the 90s? As well as 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King, March on Washington. That's what you do. That's when you make a true political statement. January the 6th, that's when you make political statements. You have to march on the thrones of power. Marching in downtown Los Angeles, downtown Oakland, that's not going to have any impact because an executive order has been signed and the American people want you gone. And it's not just the American people. The American ruling class is behind this. They want you gone. So what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to engage in meaningless protests? Because I'm telling you, the executive order has been signed. It's just like a man facing execution. 9 times out of 10, on his scheduled date of execution, he's going to be executed. Nothing is going to stop it. See, here you're not going to get a reprieve. Now, true, birthright citizenship, that's going to be fought in the Supreme Court. The highest court in the land is going to undertake that argument there. But it's the way I'm looking at the makeup of the bench, I think it's going to pass by a small margin. So, no, you're not entitled to be in America. You're not. The 14th Amendment does not protect you, especially those who haven't been granted citizenship. Why haven't you been granted citizenship? I know Hispanics have been in this country for 20 years and can't speak a shred of English. That is disrespectful to the host country. See, if I go to Mexico, I'm going to make it a point to learn Spanish. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it a point showing my appreciation by fully integrating within the culture. Yes, I'm going to keep, the culture of my ancestors. Yes, I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep my culture. Yes, I am. But I am going to, show respect by embracing the culture of the country that I go to. I'm not going to be out there burning their flags. Remember, you have no protection now. So, with the stroke of a pen, the president and Congress can easily label you as terrorists or terrorist groups. Let's keep that in mind. Just the way that he signed that executive order about the cartels down in Mexico, let me tell you one thing. Those cartels are in trouble. They are in big trouble. The only thing we have to do is look at how the United States government, how they wage anti-terrorism campaigns around the world. The Mexican cartel does not stand a chance. They're going to be uprooted. It's going to be like me fighting a 2-year-old kid. That's how brutal it's going to get for them down there. If you don't believe it, go ask Al Qaeda, go ask ISIS, go ask the Taliban. I mean, President Donald Trump just carried out strikes in Somalia against so-called ISIS targets, which he should not have done. I mean, again, man, you when you attack Africa, man, you're attacking us. And the only reason why you attack Africa is because the black population in America is apolitical, and they don't come out in mass protests. Now, let me tell you what we are going to protest about. This is when you're going to find, this is when black America's going to come out of hiding. The first black person that you send to that prison down there in El Salvador, we're going to be in the streets. You're not going to be allowed to get away with that. The black community ain't going for that. I'm telling you that right now. We're not going for that. You're not going to send our people down to El Salvador. You send the El Salvadorians to El Salvador. You send the El Salvadorians, if they want to go to Guantanamo, if you want to send them to Guantanamo Bay, send them to Guantanamo Bay. You're not sending our people down there. We've struggled too much. We've had a black prison movement in this country and everything. You're not going to send our people down there. I don't want to, go off on a tangent. It's been a while since I made a video, and right now we living in very hostile political climates. And what I suggest to the Hispanics is look, you're going to have to sit back and you're going to have to redefine your political strategy. You can't use the strategy and tactics that Black Americans use, because we evolve from two different points of history. You have to define your own struggle, and you have to develop your own unique tactics of how you are going to confront white supremacy, because that's what you're confronting right now. You're up against white supremacy right now. So, no, you don't have the Ku Klux Klan running around. No, they're not, on horseback, snatching you guys up, hanging you from trees, throwing bombs inside your homes, raping your women. They're not doing that. Right now, you are up against the administrative hand of white supremacy and the ruling class. So you have to decide how you're going to fight that battle. Attacking us on the internet, or this coming to the surface, this animosity between blacks and Hispanics, I say that we both divest from that. Blacks as well as the Hispanics, but the Hispanics have to understand, man, you've made Black America very angry. You've angered Black America. And for the first time in my lifetime, there is a coalition between white America and Black America, and they want you gone. They want you gone. Now, I do believe that this situation is going to intensify, that the contradictions are going to sharpen, and that in the end, political violence is going to break out. The Hispanics, you don't want to go against the blacks and the whites. You don't want to do that. So what you need to be doing now is, those of you who can leave honorably, then just go ahead and leave. Come back if you may. But if not, then quit migrating to America. If the conditions in your country are so bad, so unbearable, overthrow the governments in your country. There's been plenty of situations where the people have risen up against their governments because their governments were corrupt or inept or oppressive, and the people themselves overthrew the government. That's what you should do. Go back to El Salvador. If it's that bad down there, overthrow your government. Go back to Guatemala, overthrow your government. Go back to Mexico, overthrow your government, and then install a new government that represents the true ideological wishes of the people themselves. So this video has gone on for almost 23 minutes. I'm going to cut it short. Like I said, I hadn't made a video in a while. We're going to revisit this topic because this situation is only going to get worse. It's not going to improve anytime soon. For the brothers, let's just try to stay on the sidelines. Let's stay on the sidelines. We're not helping anybody, and we're not going to speak against anybody. Everybody already know what time it is. The migrants came to America and they disrespected us. Yes, they did. So now they have to feel the brunt of their disrespect. That's just the way it goes, man. But again, you have options. Go back to your own lands, raise a guerrilla army, arm that guerrilla army, and start to engage in political violence. That's how you improve the conditions in your country. Not come to America with this sense of entitlement and thinking that America has to accept you. See, that's where you made your mistake. America doesn't have to accept you. America does not need you. America is a technologically advanced society. They'll come up with ways to overhaul the farming system. But I'm going to end the video at this point, and I'll be back with more. Like I said, it's a lot going on in Africa, a lot going on in the Middle East. I mean, Donald Trump, no, you can't have Gaza, man. You can't have Gaza. But again, it's true. Where are they going to stay, man? Because Gaza was razed to the ground. There's virtually nothing left. Those people are going to have to leave Gaza. The infrastructure has been destroyed. But on that note, I'm going to end the video, and I'll be back with more news. Shalewa.